before again. I've been asked how I measure my segments when I'm doing a segmented bowl, which isn't very often, I must admit. I've got a method what I use. There's probably lots of methods and apps and things, computer programs you can use nowadays, which I'm not very good at anyway, so I tend to get a pen and paper out. So I'll show you how I do it, and hopefully you can use it. I'll just get the camera reset and then we'll get on with it. Okay, I've got a piece of, this is just a piece of white hardboard paper, anything will do. I've got a series of rings, varying sizes, 4, 5, 6 inch, 8 inch, 10 and 12 inch. That's how big I will do like any ring really, but any size you like. Just get yourself a compass like so and draw some circles. Then what I've done for the purpose of this video, this quarter is for 8 segments, this quarter is for 12, this is for 16, let's move it down a bit, and this one's for 20. So it's a bit of basic geometry really. Get yourself one of these, hang on, if I can find it, little protractor. Right, we'll stick with the 12 segment one to start with. So this quarter, 12 segments, there'll be 3 segments in this quarter. So 30 degrees, 60 degrees. That's the easy bit. Now to measure, I'll just zoom in a bit. To measure what length you want your segment, you do not go from this corner here to this corner, and I'll show you why on another piece of paper, which might make it a little bit easier. Right, I've marked this one out for a 6 inch ring. That's the line. If you go from that corner to that corner where the red line is, you're going to end up with a 5.5 inch bowl, because by the time you've rounded everything off on your lathe, you're going to end up on this line here. So what you do is, where the green line is, you draw your line just touching the arc, and you measure from there to there. Then when you get it on the lathe and skim it down, you'll get rid of this lot here and this lot here, and you'll still end up with a 6 inch bowl. That's where a lot of people go wrong. They do a 6 inch bowl, end up with a 5.5 or 5.25 inch bowl, depending on how much you take off on the lathe, and then wonder why. So always go, make a line on the outside arc and measure from there to there, then cut your segments to that length. Bob's your uncle. Now back onto the circle. 12 segments, so you might lose ½ an inch on the diameter of your bowl. The more segments you use, the less you're going to lose by doing that, because your segments are a lot smaller. If you're only doing say an 8 segment bowl and you measure from there to there for your segment, you're going to lose a massive chunk. If you have to cut across there, you're going to lose ½ an inch, which means a whole inch on the total diameter of your bowl. So like I say, it's just best to extend these lines out a bit, measure a line or draw a line from there, just touching the arc on the outside of your segment to there. That's the length you want to cut if you want to end up with a 12-inch bowl. It sounds complicated, it's not. Get your kids to do it if you want, give them a bit of fun. Just drawing a load of circles and marking them out for you. And to give them an interest as well. Plus the fact it saves you doing it. You may as well put them to good use. So that's how I do it anyway. It's relatively simple geometry. Just remember that a circle adds up to 360 degrees. So however many segments you want to put, you say 12 segments, divide that into 360, 8 segments, divide that into 360, and just draw your lines accordingly, however big you want. I just keep this in my shed and it gives me a good guide to what I do if I'm going to do any segmenting, which I will do in a bit. Right, this is the setup that I've got. A sled for segmenting. Ever so easy to make. I'm not going to go through it. There's loads of people on YouTube will show you how to make one of these, or very similar to one of these. That's where I got the idea from. I've set up a stock block, which is set up on my thing there, so I can just adjust the length of the segment I want and lock it into place. One of these 30 degrees, 12 segments. I make these on the 3D printer. I make a set of them. Drop it into there, lock your guides up into position, no gap whatsoever. Perfect segments every time. So I want to make a bowl about, I don't know, 7 inches, say, something like that. Not too bothered. So I want about just under a 2-inch segment. So now I'm going to just set this up from the side of the blade. Let's go to 1 15/16. It'll probably be a bit bigger than 7 inches because I'm going to add some inserts in between the segments. Lock that into place. Move the tape measure out of the way. Now I've got some nice pieces of babinga here. Lovely wood. I've also got some, I don't know, it could be cherry. It's just thin strips that I've cut some in between the segments. So just get that out of the way. Move the saw over a bit. That's quite a long length, it's getting in the way of my bench. That's it. The beauty of this segmenting sled, as opposed to say a chop saw, you don't have to keep turning the wood over. You keep it the same. You just go from there to there, there to there, or even just inside like that. You get your perfect angle every time. That's all there is to it. I'll swing the camera around a bit. And all those go together. Just do this very roughly, very quickly. Right, once you get your clamp on there, that will be a perfect circle with no gaps. I'll get one clamped up, I'll get this clamped up and show you. See, it's clamped very awkward, and this can snatch if you go too fast with it. Right, there you go, not a gap in sight. Easy. If you're wondering what this is, just a little triangle of wood with a bit of tape on it. It just helps stop the segments falling back onto the blade when you're cutting. Right, when you've got all your segments cut and your inserts, if you want them, you don't have to. I'm using pieces of ash. I decided not to use that other wood. I found a piece of ash and that's nicer. I'll put this on a piece of cling film just to save the board. Glue. I tend to use a lolly stick and basically just get a bit of glue, smear it all over the surface. Pop an insert on it, a little bit of a squeeze. And do all those. I know the inserts are a bit tall, it doesn't matter, it'll all skim off on the lathe. Anyway, do all 12 and then we'll clamp it together. You can just see the glue starting to ooze out. That's all you need. Don't squeeze it that tight that there's no glue left in between the joints, because it'll fall apart. Just enough pressure so the glue starts oozing out. Make sure it's nice and flat. Put it to one side to dry. There you go. And then you do another ring and another and another. Do whatever pattern you like. I've just done like single inserts in here. You can experiment with different coloured wood. You don't have to put inserts in. Whatever you like. Right, I've glued up all 5 rings now, varying sizes, and I'll leave those to dry, probably till tomorrow. Make sure they're nicely set. I've just sorted out a piece of beech which I might use for the base, but I'll have a look. I might find something else yet, but that's about the nice size I could use, so we'll see. But I'll leave it now and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, the next stage is when the rings are nice and dry, you can either sand the surface off or skim it off, which is what I'm going to do now. Now, not everybody's got these jaws, I know that, so a sanding disc on the lathe will do the job just as well. I'm just going to take a little skim off because they've got to be perfectly flat for the next glue stage. I want a little bit more off yet, but just check it with a straight edge to make sure you're getting it nice and even. It's very nearly there, just 1 or 2 little bits just want to touching up. There's lovely. Right, I was going to use this piece, I think I showed you in the last part of the video, and then I found this piece. It's both the same beech, but that will give me more of an option. I'm pretty limited to what I can do with that, shape wise, and I haven't decided yet what shape to do the base, so I'm going to use this bigger one, which, as I say, gives me more of an option to decide what to do when I come to turning that round. Anyway, that's the first ring, and I've got to glue that on and clamp it up. And do exactly the same. We'll skim that off, next ring on, skim it off, next ring on, etc., till everything's all glued up nicely. Right, it's all glued up, and see if we can turn it into something now. It'll probably want truing up. Yeah, there's a bit of a off-centre wobble on that ring at least. That's a bit better. Always keep the tool rest nice and close. I keep saying that, don't I? I think I'm going to try sort of going in there so it sort of flares out towards the top. We'll see how it goes anyway. So once you've got rid of the corners, you can treat it like any other bowl really, and just go at it with a bowl gouge in the normal way. Just getting the finishing cuts on it now. It's looking really smooth now. After the sanding, that will be pretty good. And I'm just going to take this in a bit at the base. Now I'm going to work on the inside, which is just the same as any other bowl really, except you've just got a few more ridges in it. There's actually no polish on that yet, that's just Yorkshire Grit. If it's used properly, you get one heck of a finish with it. Right, that's had a couple of coats of polish on it and some microcrystalline. I'm going to part this off now and then reverse chuck it in the bowl jaws and just finish the bottom off, and then I'll show you the finished item. don't forget the bottom's just as important as the top. That's it, finished, all done. That's come out quite well. It's a beautiful wood, this Bibinga. I don't know if I'd have bothered, if I'd have known, I wouldn't have bothered putting these inserts in because it looks fine on its own. Lovely colours in that, not too big a base. There you go, segment turning. Don't do a lot of it, but it comes out nice. Yeah, quite pleased with that. I hope Sheila will be. So there you go, that is a bit of measuring, marking out, cutting, gluing up and doing a segmented bowl. And I hope it's been of some help to you. So if you don't want to go through the process of drawing the circles out and everything, there's an app, segment calculator it's called, and you just put in the external diameter you want, the internal diameter you want, how many segments you want, press the button and it tells you exactly the measurements you'll need. But I like doing it on a bit of paper or card. So there you go. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed it and I'll see you soon for the next one. Take care everybody. Bye.